Hello and welcome back. Today I'm talking about 10 habits for successful CPTSD recovery. These are 10 things that I had to learn on my own healing journey. These aren't things that I Googled, I looked up, and I read that it was good for you and I'm tossing at you in a video. No, these are things that I had to do myself. And they're also things that I witness people that I work with, whether one-on-one or in the Thriver School of Transformation. These are 10 things that I noticed that those that are really shifting and moving forward put into practice. At the same time, these aren't 10 things that you learn, you hear cognitively, and you master overnight. So remember that while you're on your own healing journey and you're learning how to apply what you're learning, be patient with yourself, be compassionate, because each one of these does take time. Because bottom line, that is really what gets stored inside of you. The event is in the past, but what gets stored inside is the beliefs that it created about yourself. So if somebody was rude and abusive, that's what they did. Now, there is a place in learning about what they did so that you can understand it, especially if you had family members that may have been on the scale of NPD. There's a need to understand what their behaviors were, right? But if their actions are they are rude, they are abusive, the focusing on self is, well, what did that make me believe about myself? And just thinking about what I just said, the first belief that pops into my head is, I am unlovable. I'm unworthy. I don't deserve. So that's the trauma that we have to kind of shift our focus from what the person did to the beliefs it created. So it goes from external focus to internal focus. Even when you feel the procrastination kicking on, saying, oh, this doesn't work, so why bother? Or the procrastination might say, there's too many other things that we have to do. You know, that's not important. Let's keep looking at this, or let's keep doing this. And it's learning to notice that procrastination and still continue to move forward. And again, that takes time, because what's actually happening is that a subconscious belief is kicking on. That's what causes procrastination. The subconscious belief might be, there's something wrong with me. So think about that. If I believe there's something wrong with me, you would think that as I am learning that actually I was a good kid, my parents had something wrong with them, you would think your body and your subconscious would be like, yes, this is awesome. Let's embrace this upgraded belief. But it doesn't. The body makes you feel uncomfortable and it causes you to feel resistance towards that new belief. And that's because the subconscious mind, its job is to keep you. Its job isn't to evaluate which belief is better or worse or empowering or limiting. That's the job of your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is just whatever belief is there. Let's keep that your reality, because that's who you are. So when your conscious mind is upgrading, your subconscious mind notices and you feel that resistance. The habit of successful CPTSD recovery involves learning to feel that resistance without letting it control you. And that does take time. The truth is that when you're comparing yourself most of the time, right, especially if you've been through trauma, most of the time you're comparing yourself as if everyone's up here and you're down here, which is simply the voice, the internalized voice of the toxic person that probably made you feel that way to begin with. So in order to recover from complex PTSD, we have to change how we're treating ourselves. We cannot continue to allow the internalized abuser's voice to cause us to feel less than others. When we compare ourselves that way, the only emotions that it creates are self-blame, shame, and discouragement. frustration, sadness. I can go on, but they're all limiting emotions. And so if we continue to do things that cause us to feel that, think about it. Are we going to feel motivated to move forward if these are the emotions that it's creating? So the journey is not a race, and we have to stop comparing ourselves to others. And the only person we need to compete with is who we were yesterday. Trauma causes you to focus, to hyper focus on the negative and on the problems. But that would be equivalent to me going out and standing in front of the ocean while the sun is setting and putting my hands over my eyes and saying that, I don't see that beautiful sunset because, all I see is my hand. That is true, right? I would not literally see the sunset, but that doesn't mean it's not there. And with trauma, we tend to forget that even though there is a lot of hardship because of it, there are other things in our life. And what this does is it starts to loosen up the nervous system. The nervous system hyper focuses on the negative, but you're like, well, look it over there. Yes, this is negative right here, but there is also this. And it really starts helping you to kind of break out of that tunnel vision of negativity. So by practicing gratitude, you are teaching yourself, you're creating neural pathways to be able to do that. You're teaching your nervous system to see those things. And when we can see those things, it gives us momentum. If all we can see is the trauma, it's like trying to drive forward while staring at the rearview mirror. You're going to crash. You're not going to enjoy the journey. When we've been through trauma, we tend to want to push and shove ourselves really, really fast. And it doesn't work that way. I know in my case, when I was working through social anxiety, the more I tried to do something big, because unless it was big, it just wasn't worthy in my eyes, the more it would be like trying to jump from the first floor to the second floor and ignoring the 12 steps in between. It's like falling flat on your face and sliding back down the stairs. That's what it felt like. But when you learn to take that one little step and be proud of yourself for taking that step and celebrating that, now you're creating a new emotion with a new behavior. And that's how our subconscious learns. It learns through our emotions and repetition. So the more little things we're celebrating, the faster we're going to go on the journey, because our nervous system is going to feel safe to allow us to do so. But when we strive too high and we miss and we get mad at ourselves, now our nervous system's like, oh, let's not even try. And it doesn't work. We always talk about hearing how we need to forgive the person that hurt us, but there's also the element of forgiving yourself for tolerating, forgiving yourself for not learning in the past, for repeating a mistake, forgiving yourself for not understanding sooner, forgiving yourself for letting so many years go by. I could go on and on and on. The point is at some point, we have to forgive ourselves for whatever part we have. Doesn't matter. Learning to forgive ourselves and really love and accept ourselves despite what happened from our end. The alternative, if we don't get to that place of self-forgiveness, is that we wind up stuck in anger and resentment. And anger and resentment they're like an anchor, and they're wrapped around your ankle, and they do not let you move forward in life. So you don't just focus inward on the wounds, but you also realize that there's you, there's your conscious mind, there's your subconscious mind, there's your central nervous system. And the truth is, one of the main things that is going to determine your happiness, how you see life, how you behave, how you function, is your central nervous system. So you may consciously want things, but if your central nervous system is not balanced or regulated, you're not going to be able to obtain it. So there's an element of working on the nervous system. And it seems like a piece, and I say this from experience, because when I was first learning about the importance of doing things to regulate my nervous system, there was a lot of resistance in me because we tend to think, as trauma survivors, we tend to think that it's got to be huge. What we do, it's got to be so major, it's got to be so huge. And nervous system regulation and learning to breathe, something like diaphragmatic breathing, it can be so easy to be like, yeah, I'll get to that. But the truth is that that is a major, major thing that we need to incorporate in our journey if we want successful CPTSD recovery. And along with that, it's not just about learning about it. Then it's about applying it into your life daily. There are things you couldn't control about your past. There were people that were responsible for the challenges that you had to face. That is 100% true. But at some point, we have to say, I didn't have control of that. But from today forward, I'm going to look at what is in my control. A lot of trauma results from not having support, right? You went through something challenging, something traumatic without any support. And sometimes we can internalize that lack of support. In order to experience successful CPTSD recovery, we have to learn how to support ourselves from within. And the last one I'm going to mention, which by far is not the last one on the list, nor should it be the one that is last. Okay, remember, this is not a list that's in order. Successful CPTSD recovery involves learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable sensations that come up in your body. And let me tell you, that is not easy because in childhood, we tend to suppress what is overwhelming, but it stays suppressed with the intensity of when it was originally suppressed. So when it starts coming up in the body, it comes up with that same intensity. It's not like a distant memory. It's almost like the trauma is happening at that moment. That's what it can feel like in the nervous system. So learning how to be comfortable with what's going on inside of you is really vital in order to be able to experience CPTSD recovery. So those are 10 things I had to work on myself. There are also 10 habits that I noticed that people that are shifting and moving forward engage in. So use the list as something that can help you to celebrate your wins and give you a glimpse of what can help you to continue to move forward.